Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. For this week's Talk Thursday, we speak with musical artist Gary Granada. He's best known for his legendary folk and pop songs like Salamat Musika, Kahit Konti, Saranggola sa Ulan, and Tulad ng Dati. As an artist and an activist, he's bookmarked significant moments in Philippine history with songs that sing of the Filipino experience. To commemorate Independence Day, Granada wrote the song Minsa'y Isang Bansa. He's with us today to talk about his new composition and his insights into how the Philippines has changed over the years. Hello, Gary. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, Maria.
Good
afternoon, good morning.
I know from wherever they watch us in the world. When I first came to the Philippines in 1986, I had listened to your cassette and I wore it thin. It was a cassette and I loved it. It made me laugh, it made me cry. But one thing was clear from that. I was listening to it partly also to learn Tagalog. Yeah.
Okay.
But one of the things that was so clear throughout your music is that you are a fighter. What are you fighting for?
Oh, okay. I think like most of us, no? we in the most simple of terms, I think most of us simply fight for a better deal for everybody. I think that's how I can probably put it, because where I come from, in southern Philippines, in Davao.
Yeah.
That's my kuwan yung aking mundo. There's just too much too many things that make you that pull you down. You have so many resources all over the place, and yet you see so many people having very little to work with, and so it's nothing really. It's nothing complicated really, other than responding to what you see on an everyday basis.
Ano sana gusto mo mangyari in terms of when people listen to your music?
I don't. I think the way to do it is to attach what you're doing to something that's a little bit bigger than just your music. No? So when you scan around, sino ba yung gumagawa ng maseryoso na project, no, for like I said, making things better for everybody, and the closest you can think of is the Philippine left.
Yes,
were,
and you have been identified with the left. Sorry.
I hope so.
Okay.
And so I thought it was best to apply what little I know by way of the musical art into the movement, as we call it, and that's where I hovered around.
But you chose music instead of arms.
It's not much of a. It's not really as much a choice between music and what did you say?
Taking up arms.
Taking up arms.
Yeah. You chose music.
When the left is the revolutionary movement. It's a movement that employs arms, that employs the arts, and most especially that employs coherent arguments to actually push forth a viable agenda to the public. So mas madali lang siguro yung hawakan. I'm not built for fighting, but I think if I were, by all means, sure, why not? No.
Is it still relevant today?
What the
talked
music
about
or
the movement. The movement first.
Okay.
We talked about the movement.
Yes. If the reason for its being is still very much there, if not worse, in fact, then there is more reason for a movement to take things seriously and put up a fight.
And the music, what did you try to do in the music?
I think the role of those of us who have a way of communicating these things to the more general public is to soften the ground for people to make it easier for them to listen to the signs of the times, as it were, no? To see things, and hopefully from there make more concrete decisions from where they come from. If you're somebody who's good in business, maybe what kind of business you're going into, what products, what are the assumptions, and if you're coming from, if you're a lawyer or a writer, maybe what causes are you to take up? Those individual choices that you make, and probably music or the arts in general can at least help us sharpen that process.
Yes.
A bit, and towards something that's more, shall we say, coherent on a national scale,
Yes.
or maybe even on a global
Well,
scale.
one of the songs that was heartbreaking the first time I heard it, and I was, a Filipino American coming here for the first time, and this song, when the first time I heard it, made me cry. Bahay.
Okay.
And we have a question from @Shannon17. What was your inspiration in composing the song Bahay?
Wow, that's really a question.
Yeah, that's really a question.
This is very new to me.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, these things that you see, you actually this song is just a sort of a redundancy.
Okay.
You know, you see it every which way anyway. So
Yes.
Why what maybe I should do it.
Sure.
Yeah,
We'd love to hear it.
instead.
Yeah. We can pick up the guitar.
Well, what exactly inspired me to do it? I think the fact that I'll probably do a few lines,
Sure.
and I'll start with isang bantog na senador ang unang nilapitan ko at dalubhasang propesor ng malaking kolehiyo. Ang pinagpala sa mundo, ang dyaryo at ang pulpito, lahat sila'y nagkasundo na ang tawag sa ganito ay bahay. And that's the thing that bothered me. It's not that you see a lot of people in despair, but you see our institutions really not helping out, and this is not something that is just a problem of a few families or just a few communities or maybe a sector of society. This is, if I may put it in this is an institutional question, and it is the sheer incapacity of our institutions to respond to a national reality. And if you have to, and it begs the question, why? Bakit? Ano bang mayroon ng lipunan mo such that your institutions, meaning the big institutions, government, the church, your business community, your schools, your media institutions, cannot quite respond to it in an adequate, in a meaningful way. And you cannot escape, then you cannot escape the reality that it's because the fundamental assumptions of your society in Marxian terms, the material conditions, as
Yes.
it were, are precisely there to ensure that such things are going to happen every single day.
You're saying the society is set up to create
This is
conditions
yes,
like
the
this.
society is set up in such a way that the control of your resources are not in the hands of your social institutions, of your public social institutions, but in the hands of a few private families and individuals. You cannot escape that reality, and therefore, whatever little surplus that your society can come up with cannot be shared with everybody, because it's going to be controlled by the hands of a few families, and that's why you cannot but maintain itong ganitong sistema. Walang escaping.
No.
That's the reality. I don't even have to be a communist or to see that. It's just that. And it makes you envy. There are some societies, welfare states, that actually wala silang problema sa kanilang health, sa kanilang education, precisely because their public resources, political, economic resources.
You wrote this song in the late 80s, right? 85,
In the
86.
late, yes. 86, yes.
Have things changed? Have things gotten better? The song is so painful when you listen to it, diba? Have things changed?
I think the more compelling question is, changed for who? No?
Okay.
It does. It did. And then just recently, you covered it yourself in your site. I'm a big fan of Rappler.
Thank you, Gary.
You have an almost 8% growth, which means things have changed, and yet you have an increase in your unemployment.
Yes.
How do you reconcile those two things?
You're talking about a 6.8% GDP first quarter growth rate, which is the highest globally right now. It's higher than China, and then
7.8.
7.8.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I think, yeah.
is it 7.8?
I think so. Yeah.
7.8. Wow. And then 7.8, and then we have higher unemployment. And
How do you actually make sense of those two things? And you can easily figure it out when the president says in last May
Yesterday.
1st, during the labor,
the Labor Day.
days,
Okay.
he was saying, "Wag muna tayong mag-increase ng sahod." So how can you?
So let me ask you though, you're as an artist, as a free thinker, how do you define social change? What's a revolution for you?
You have to have some set of beliefs other than the survival of the fittest. This whole thing about itong unequal access to resources.
Yes.
It's just a natural consequence of the biological law. The
Okay.
fit survives.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to have some other set of belief systems to make things better for everybody. And that means even if you are not as strong, even if you are not as fit as the others, you are entitled to some sufficient provision for you to actually have a meaningful and productive life.
But in many ways, the reason I was also asking you about your idea of a revolution, you're talking about a social safety net. How do we help people who aren't part of the elite, who aren't, right? In many parts of the world, the left has failed. Communist Party has actually failed. It's retreated in other
Right.
parts of the world. And what it's done here in the Philippines so far, it's how many years since 1980? 27 years, 28 years. We're coming to 27 years this year, the EDSA, right? So that that's been going on that long, it hasn't brought about change.
Mm-hmm.
How do you define it? What are you still working for, I guess, is the question I'm asking, diba?
That's right. You don't need to be a communist to actually imagine
No,
another
absolutely
world.
not. Yeah.
And I think there are countries who have been successful at it, one way or the other. Even Cuba, which is being isolated by the United States,
Yes.
or Bhutan, for example.
Yes.
Who's
Bhutan is the happiest country in the world. Yeah.
These are the things that you need to dare to imagine beyond what's given, and I think that's where our the challenge is.
Yes.
Because if you have a government who has very little imagination, other than investors from other countries, you come in, you open up our property structures in the constitution so that we can encourage. If that's all you can think of, nothing is going to happen to your country. If that's all you can imagine. Or I think because I think it's not a question of whether you're smart enough. I think they're smart enough to not imagine, because it's a threat precisely
to the existing power structures.
Yeah.
Pero sa tingin mo naman, Gary, kumusta naman yung gobyerno ngayon?
Yung some local governments, no, I think there's some hope in some local governments, which is fine and good, but the numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie, and that's why maybe we can start with one or two principles. You were talking earlier of the independence
Yes.
and the nationalism. I think
Yes.
we need to get beyond our nominal concept of nationalism.
Yes.
Pinoy tayo, iba tayo sa iba.
You mean
then we
our
can-
shallow concept? Is that
yeah.
no? Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry. Maybe
Yeah,
negative.
shallow,
I mean,
it's not bad. No?
Okay.
I mean that you should be proud of your being a Filipino and all that. But nationalism is not about national identity. Nationalism is important because it is a basis for you to be able to actually establish social justice. How does it work? It's because when you are a nationalist, you go beyond you extend your lenses from within your small circle of yourself and your family.
Yes.
And your clan, and actually look after the good of the community, if not the whole nation.
Yes.
And that's why you're a nationalist. You're not a personalist. You're not a family person. No?
Yes.
But you actually look after the good of your whole community.
Yes.
That kind of nationalism. Kaya hindi ka magbabago ng yung political dynasty kasi wala kang nationalism eh.
Yes.
Our leaders, Bam Aquino is a good boy, Pinoy is a good boy. They're good boys. But when you cannot imagine a country that has too many the same names running the show, you're not a nationalist. You're just an old
Feudal.
feudal
Yeah.
medieval clan
Yeah.
who wants to run everything. That's what we need to get down to the bottom of that. But also understand that we actually do not have that kind of experience. Parang kasi we did go through that actually,
Yes.
as a nation. It's an invented country. We're even called by somebody else's name. No? But so
Yes.
we-
Philippines. Okay.
that's
We're
why
even
we need
called
to
by-
probably our historians are right, anthropologists are right. Probably we need to dig deeper into our historical pockets and see which maybe we have some strands of social organizations that we can actually look to for some model of what can work.
In recent years, you moved into teaching.
I had a few short stints with I taught community communications and development in UP and and algebra.
Okay, and algebra with music. Okay.
I was a metallurgical engineering student then.
Wow. Okay.
But I quit.
Okay.
I quit school. That was my favorite work, teaching. You can talk for hours and hours and and everybody has to listen. But you can only reach out to a few students. But
Yes.
it's I don't know. I still think teaching is one of those real key to change things. On that note, I was hoping that you actually I did this little book
Yes.
for teaching social
Okay.
studies,
Okay.
and you have songs there, and you have chords there, and you have suggested study guides there.
So you used
Yeah.
music as a way to teach.
Well, sometimes I do.
Yes,
And,
yes.
and I see some teachers asking me for some songs and how they can use it in their class, and so I thought it might be better to come up with something more systematic. I was hoping that Rappler can actually host it. I want them to download these things for
Absolutely.
free.
Yes.
You said it.
Yes, for sure. How do you see, so music for you is an agent of change. How would you, I'm looking at how you've used it through your career. How do you, I guess,
It's just like any other tool, I guess. It's fun too.
yeah, absolutely.
It's especially with alcohol.
Dapat pala may beer ngayon eh. It's,
so it's not so bad, It's like what you're doing,
Yeah.
only in a much smaller scale.
more fun than what we do.
Oh yeah,
No,
more fun.
Well, for you. Well, I think as a music will give you the ability to tap things that's hard to put in words, like. And I'll go to another one from that tape that I
Right.
played so much it frayed.
Tape.
Yeah, this cassette tape. Wala na siya. Another song that struck me, and then I covered the U.S. bases afterwards.
Oh,
for
yeah. Okay.
Kanluran.
Oh yes.
Kanluran.
I remember it. Palubog na, haring araw sa kanluran. Pawi na, haring lawin sa kanluran. Yeah. We wished then. We're still wishing now. They're not here, but they're very much here. And I think that's the real question ng independence. Are you really independent? Do you really make decisions that put your own public interest before your elite? That's how I would put
Yes.
independence, and of course not. So,
Yes.
in that sense, tama yung sinasabi ng iba, huhuwad yung kalayaan mo. I don't really know how things can get better.
Have
Like
things
that.
improved in any way in your from what you've seen since '86 until now?
for, like I said, for some
For a
people, it is,
few.
yeah, for a few, yes. You see more, of course, more new things.
Yes,
New
you see
shiny
buildings.
things, yeah, buildings.
Yeah.
You see, but that, like I say, numbers don't lie,
Yes.
and yung mga mayroon, because they have the facilities, that's who you hear.
Yes.
That's who you hear every day. But when you go around, like, as simple as you look around the whole landscape ng mining industry, for example, and it's very easy to see that you have things fucked up by mistakes
yes.
all over the place. No?
Yes.
So yun ang kalagayan mo.
Yeah. This society, though, is so westernized, so American. You know, if you're an American coming in, I grew up in America. If you're an American coming in, it seems so deceptively familiar. Do you think that we'll ever find the Filipino? Like, you know, again, the Filipino is this mix, but can it ever become more Filipino, as away from a Western perspective? Or is that part of who we are?
But it's not can it become, it should become. If it cannot become that, if it cannot be made aware, if it cannot be aware of who it is, who we are,
Yes.
then kuwan lang yun, to each his own lang yun, no? Like we do now, no?
Yes.
Sige, I take care of my own, you take care of your own family, and that's it. So,
The kids today, though, are different, right? They have technology. They have, I mean, Rappler couldn't have existed 5
Right.
years ago, a decade ago. What do you think will happen with this new generation?
that's a tough one because I have 3 children myself.
Okay.
Wala aktivista sa ganyan. Ayaw nila ako. No, I adore them, but maybe they have other ways of doing things, and maybe other more pressing concerns in their own lives. I wonder myself. I ask myself, ano nga kaya ang kinabukasan nitong mga batang ito? Are they bound to get a better to get things do a better job than we did?
Than we did, yeah. I keep telling them they will, and they have to.
I hope against hope.
Yeah.
I'm very encouraged when I see young people. At alam mo itong issue ng, for example, itong freedom of information issue.
Yeah.
These are not the show is not run by the mainstream or traditional left. This is run by maybe instinctively by young people.
Yes, yes.
And or the RH law, for example.
Yes.
So you see naman good things happening, and that's where I my beer gets sweeter when I think of these things.
Let me
Kanina pa ako.
Ano, sabi ko nga, dapat may beer talaga. Din. No? Let me throw a question from social media from @pages. Mr. Granada writes the most poetic songs in OPM. Grabe magletra. Pati areglo, one of a kind. Sino influences niya?
Oh, musically.
Yes.
Old ones. You know, I love American standards. That's where my father.
That's ironic.
No, I have nothing against the American people. It's their American foreign policies that have everything.
And American power. Okay.
I'm fond of saying I'm half American actually.
Di ba yung kay Stanley Carnow said the Philippines spent 250 years in a convent and 50 years in Hollywood. I mean, that's part of also this makeup. Anyway, so your influences.
Yeah, and
so
then our classics. No, our classics.
Sino? You're wearing
classics. Cebuano classics, Tagalog classics. I have the suspicion that yung transition actually you take over ng US, no? From 350 or so years ng Latin American Spanish. Sort of found a good mix ng musical sensibilities, created some unique blend of Filipino music. I would say Filipino. Politically correct pa ba Pilipino sa Mindanao? Anyway, yun. And then of course, Beatles, generation.
Pero the way you wrote things, there's a tremendous longing, and then it's the contrast always. There's a contrast and there's a longing in many of your songs.
Yung panahon namin, importante yung the story.
Yes.
It's very important. You have at least three areas ng music mo. You have your story, you have your tune, and you have your beat. And ang feeling ko is it's veered towards the more groovy and the beaty stuff these days. So medyo was probably that. But there are very, very good writers, young writers around.
So we're going to end the show with Minsa'y Isang Bansa. Can you tell us what was behind this? Again, bittersweet. There's again this bittersweet. This is at least look at these three songs that we've just talked about. Bahay, Kanluran, Minsa'y Isang Bansa, which you guys should stay tuned for because we'll run the song in full. What made you write it? What was in your? How did you feel? What do you want Filipinos to feel after they listen to it?
I think pagod. Matanda na ako eh. I've been doing this for 35 years maybe. And when you see na ganun pa rin ang mga bagay-bagay, you feel so exasperated or something. But at the same time, you cannot simply surrender to cynicism or
you can't give up.
So you hope. In fact, sobrang na yun. I'm not saying let's ibagsak natin ang mundo. No?
So bittersweet nga.
I'm just sinasabi ko na lang, nakikiusap na lang ako. Hindi na ako nakikipilit or ayoko na kayong kalabanin. Makikiusap na lang ako sa may kaya. Kasi hindi ko na kayang kalabanin eh. You have everything, nasa sa inyo na lahat ng kapangyarihan, di ba? Ano pa bang magagawa namin? Sobrang hina na namin. Nasa inyo lahat ng makinarya, nasa inyo lahat ng pasilidad, nasa inyo lahat ng kayaman.
Yes.
Makikiusap na lang ako sa inyo na may kaya sa abot ng inyong kakayanan. Ano na lang.
But you're not giving up, right? This is not,
No. Never. Yesterday, just one last story.
Yes,
I was
please.
with this conference ng Minsa'y,
Yes.
Philippines. You would know about mining. At
Yes.
nakakita ko doon ng aktivista, 20-year-old aktivista. Ang buhay na ko ng loob. Tanda. Nasa bingit. I think itong mining campaign has already claimed 60-70 lives already na nagbuwis ang buhay in these recent years. Doon ako nabubuhay. Mayroon pang mga kabataan na handang mag-isip lagpas sa kanilang mga sarili kung hindi sa kapakanan ng kanilang pamayanan at kanilang bansa. You cannot give up if you see those. And besides, ano ba naman tayo, ang liit-liit na nga binibigay natin, mag-give up pa tayo.
There is another last question before we go to Minsa'y Isang Bansa. Your advocacy about music as a teaching school, as a teaching tool in high school. What is that? I mean, how are you using it? What impact are you having?
It's actually in a book form.
Yes.
You can buy it from National Bookstore, but
Yes.
It's expensive. They sell it
Yes.
for 400 pesos.
And this is the one we talked about
Yes,
earlier,
that's
right?
why
So we're looking
we're going to upload it dito sa Rappler para
hope.
ma-download nyo for free.
Gary, you give away so much of your songs. You
Pinamimigay ko
actually
na nga, ayaw nila eh.
Pero you're not looking at it as a commercial artist. You're not looking at copyright. You're not looking to make money out of it.
I think a lot of people do things for me. Pinapakain ako ng mga magsasaka, mga mangingisda, binibigyan ako ng pantalon ng mga mananahe. Ginugupitan ako ng mga So, I think what little you can give back, you do. Ano ba naman yung sinusulat at ginagawa mo kung mapakinabangan ng iba, di ba? Why not? That's what I mean when I say, baka naman pwede nating umalis doon sa balangkas na yun, we cost everything and trade and monetize everything and rely so much on the accumulation of resources.
Yes.
Maybe doon ang susi. Baka naman mabubuhay tayo ng mas maaliwalas kung gano'n ang ano natin.
More power. Gary, thank you. Thank you so much. We are going to leave you with the song Gary Granada wrote. He says it's nakikiusap lang, pero it's very powerful. Minsa'y isang bansa. Gary Granada wrote this for the Philippines' 115th Independence Day.
Minsa'y isang bansa ang nangarap sa gitna ng karimlan, makapagpahinga nawa sa hirap at makawala sa kawalan. Bayang nababalot ng hiwaga, hindi ka ba namamangha? Lupa na sagan at di nagbala, bakit naglipa na ang dukha? Minsa'y isang bansang nakipaglaban, nag-alay ng kanyang panganak, hangad ang magandang kinabukasan, tinatamasa ng lahat. Ano nga bang saysay ng pugat lawin, kung ang madlay abang mangman, ang EDSA ba ay may ibig sabihin sa mga tiyang kumakalat? Minsa'y isang bansang nagbayanihan upang iahon ang munting dampa, subalit sa halip na kabutihan, sa tiwalit digma, muling nasalanta. Ako'y nakikiusap sa may kaya, sa abot ng inyong kakayanan, ipalaganap ang justisya at kalingahin ang sambayanan. Minsa'y isang bansa ang nagsisikap na samantalahin ang panahon. Minsa'y isang bansa ang nangangarap na sana'y mahalin mo na ngayon.